Hey y'all, welcome to my art studio. Today I'm going to talk with you about the Crayola Super Tip and how it's become one of my favorite tools in preparing for paintings. Yes, paintings. I don't use these in a traditional way. It's a Crayola supply. It's designed for elementary school use, but I have found it to be incredibly helpful in my painting practice, my acrylic painting practice. So I'd like to show you how that works for me. Let's go. So before I begin talking about why I love these markers so much in my painting practice, I want to talk to you about the two things that led me to discover how great these are in my preparation for getting to big paintings. First thing I don't like about this box, I already let you know, I don't like this box. So you get a large number of markers for a very inexpensive price. I do believe this was $15 when I bought this, and I only bought this this past summer, so I'm pretty sure the price hasn't adjusted since then. This box, albeit incredibly cute, and I was super excited about it for the obvious reason. It looks like an old-fashioned box of Crayola crayons. It is ridiculously difficult to get the markers back into these boxes. And let me show you. I'm just going to take them over here and I'll show you how I do store them. And I don't want to say that how I am storing them right now is actually the way I'm going to always store. Okay, we're already starting with the problems. So if you remember back to like the 64 box of crayons, they look gorgeous. And then you start using them and you try to put them back into their box after your mom and dad, your grandmother, your grandfather told you had to clean up and get ready for whatever, or at least that's what happened to me. And putting them back was always a real challenge if they didn't get put back right the minute that you finished using the color. And maybe you were a more organized kid than me. I took my crayons out and they stayed out until the end. Already, you're beginning to see why this is just bonkers, literal bonkers to be the storage system, especially if these are designed for children. This is absolutely designed for a kid to lose their mind and not put their toys away. But just getting markers back in this box drives me crazy. So for that reason, I decided we're not keeping the box. We are keeping the box. I mean, I haven't had these in the marker box for many months now, and I haven't gotten rid of the box. I can't help it. I love it. I'm thinking maybe I'll find a use for it somehow. It just makes me happy, and I have a place on a shelf to put it. So right now it's a giant Crayola memorabilia empty box. After seeing all these beautiful colors and that they were 100 different colors, not multiples of the same color, which there are marker sets for classrooms designed that way because you have a classroom full of kids, you're going to need a variety of the same marker. So everybody can have the black, everybody can have the red. So I was assuming there would be some information on the barrels of these markers. And there's a name, but that's it. And it's also in silver. I'm not a huge fan of metallic lettering on art supplies. I find it very difficult to read, and I don't think it's because of my age and that my eyes are no longer what they were. The other thing, the marker barrels don't necessarily tell you truly what that color is going to be, and that's not something that's because it's a child's art supply. If you have colored with any fine art marker, you can find that to be the case. Or even sometimes colored pencils, the barrels don't actually match. So what I did, barrels don't match the color of the pigment of the pencil or the marker. I went ahead and I named all these babies. Let me zoom in on this for you. There you go. So I swatched them all 100 of them, and I named them. And in doing that, I realized how many different shades, how many values of green, blue, purple, red, brown, brown. Like we have actual shades of brown and gray. The only thing we don't have a shade of is necessarily black. There's just a simple black. Look at all these gorgeous different oranges. I named them all. I went through and I did that, and then I took that chart and I labeled by hand with another marker, a Sharpie, each of the barrels with the name that I gave it. And I also labeled them as either W or C, warm or cool. I was trying to have some fun and think about, you know, what side of the heat spectrum these colors were leaning, and that's why I labeled them as W and C. As I did this swatch, this is the marker once. This is how fine a point I could get. This was also trying little lines, but then this is how dark the marker gets with repeated application. So meaning, I'm not going to do this because this is purple over green, meaning that I went over in the same pattern, usually on the broad side, to see how dark I could get it. And these markers actually increase in saturation as you color over them, which I thought was really cool. So for example, let's get a really pale one. All right, so this pale orange here, zoom in one more time. That is the marker once. Look how much more saturated it gets if you come over it a couple of times. And so as I was going through and making this color chart and this naming chart, and then seeing really how much of a value change I can get and a saturation change I can get by just the ways that I layer, like even I thought that was interesting too. You can layer over the marker and it creates this, that right here you can see where I crossed and the marker laid over another layer, and where's the layer of just once over the paper. As I was doing that, I also wanted to ask myself, like, what happens when you put these with water? I mean, they were a water-based marker, and they're obviously really deeply pigmented as far as like, it's a juicy, juicy marker. So I thought I might take you through how I've begun using this, and then I'll show you a couple examples in my sketchbook. Right now, as I told you in my last video, I am working on a landscape painting, and I need to fold this over. This is my working sketchbook. And last week you saw this as a simple pencil drawing as I was going through and testing colors and mixing white versus titanium. So this is all using Crayola Super Tips. I thought I'd show you what's like, why I use it. I mean, because obviously this looks cool, but it is a little bit scratchy. So I'm gonna fill it in with some water, and this sketch to fill it in took me just a few minutes, barely any time. The longest time it took me was to select the colors. Because as I was selecting the colors, I was thinking about what pigments I was going to use, what paint I was going to use. Because look at all these choices. This is like the whole gamut of colors that you can make with fine art paint, whether that's watercolor paint or acrylic paint or oil paint, except for I'm doing it quickly. I'm doing it in my sketchbook. This is mixed media paper, so it will do well with some water, but it's not awesome to add a whole bunch of moisture to. And while I do like painting in this book, and obviously I do use acrylic paint in here, I have to wait a long time for it to dry before I can flip it over, otherwise the pages will stick together. So I'm going to show you how awesome this is. Maybe I'll even zoom it in to paint with on my little sketch here that I'm using as a study for my next painting. I'm gonna hyperlapse it because, you know, even though this is only gonna take me a few minutes, it's a lot faster when you use the magic of film. But I will stay with you and let you know why it is that I'm using this particular medium to do my studies. I was wondering how the colors were going to saturate with the water, because this bit of coloring that I did with the Super Tips, I did yesterday, and then it had to dry, and before I had been adding water almost immediately after laying down the ink. So some of the lighter colors didn't spread with water as much as they did before, but the darker colors were still quite saturated when they were wet. So I've done this a number of times so far, which is what led me to think that maybe this would be a fun idea to share with y'all. I'm gonna let this, I can even let this dry. I should let it dry fully, but oh, my desk is completely crowded with all of these markers. Hundreds a lot. Let me blot that out with my painting of my cat, which I did a video about how I chose her color palette, I used Crayola Super Tips here to study some of the colorations going on, and then also study just the whole image, because the image was really challenging to me because it was coming from a 3-point perspective, and I wanted to add some color into the pencil drawing that I had done to see how that was working. But I had a timetable, so the Crayola Super Tips, and this is with them with water, really helped me to do that study quickly. And it was fun too, rather than stressful, because I wasn't bringing out lots of supplies. Now, this is kind of, okay, so I'm starting on the side, on my own, to study drawing faces. I've spent very little time drawing faces. In fact, I would harbor to say this is probably my first time to draw a face. 10 points if you know who this is. These are, again, the Crayola. This is my first time using the Crayola Super Tips to add more to a pencil drawing. And I was really excited about this. I know there are a lot of young artists out there who would enjoy something like this, or really they want to start thinking about painting, or they're exploring more expensive art supplies, but they're hard to bring home to, say, like an 8-year-old or a 12-year-old even. When you're on a budget, life is expensive. A box of Crayola Super Tips is not. And bringing this box home for your child who's exploring art and drawing a little more maturely or a little more seriously, this is a fabulous little set. I mean, if I had gotten this when I was a child, I don't even know. This would have been such a boon to my creativity, because you have all these colors. You can make fine lines with them. You can make thick lines with them. They last a long time. And then you add water to them and they become sort of magical. Only 2 things I don't like about them are the 2 things that led me to thinking that you could use this in an art practice. And that's this box, while cute, completely impractical. There aren't any names, but I'm thinking about writing a blog post and just sharing these. I had such a fun time doing all of these names. Like one of them I called Butterscotch, but then this is like Dark Butterscotch, and this is Rosebud, but this is Dusty Pink. And my greens really got creative. We've got olive oil green, St. Augustine grass green, and if you know St. Augustine grass, that's how green it is. Your child might even have fun naming them, or you, the artist in you, will come out and name them. When I'm coloring in community, people say, can I have X? They don't say, can you give me that one really light? No, give me mint green, and it's going to be on there. I promised I'd show you how I'm storing them. It's not exciting. It's this. I haven't found a solution to storage because a lot of markers here, y'all. 100. It's hard to find a good way to store 100 markers. And I don't claim to have found it, but I had this kind of caddy-like system that was holding another set, and it doesn't really fit, but oops, I forgot this, make it fit. So besides packaging, the Crayola Super Tip, my new favorite painting supply that is absolutely not for painting. I hope you enjoyed it, this video, this walk through my sketchbook. Stick around for those next few slides that are going to show you the other pieces in process. And yeah, $15. The holidays are coming up. Easily a stocking stuffer or a special gift for that creative person in your life. And they may not even know that they'll love these, but I 100% guarantee you they will. Thanks for watching. Give it a thumbs up if you found it helpful, and I'll see you in the next video.